Good morning. Welcome to the California Department of Insurance's Insurance Claims Workshop, hosted by Insurance Commissioner Dave Jones. My name is Tony Signorelli, Deputy Commissioner with the department, and Commissioner Jones will be out here in a minute to kick off the workshop. However, before he comes out, I just want to provide some just quick details. There's about 200 people signed up for appointments, so if you're not clear on when your appointment is, please see the reception area. There are a number of slots available for walk-ins, so if you would like to sign up for a walk-in, make sure you either already signed up with the reception area or go to see the reception area for sign-ups. With that, I'd like to welcome Insurance Commissioner Dave Jones.
Thank you. Thank you and good morning. My name is Dave Jones, and I have the privilege of serving you as the California Insurance Commissioner. And I want to begin by thanking the Glasser Center for opening up their beautiful facility to this workshop. And I want to thank all of you for your attendance. And I want to thank our team at the California Department of Insurance, many of whom you'll get to meet throughout the course of the day for their work as well. I don't have to tell you, because you have suffered firsthand the enormous havoc of these fires, I don't have to tell you how devastating and heartbreaking these fires have been. Many of you here have lost everything you had, every personal possession, your homes, your vehicles, your businesses. Some of you have suffered only partial losses, but those losses are terrible as well. In this community, these counties have lost schools and businesses and homes and parks and all sorts of things that are integral to what makes a community a high quality of life. And so I want to share with you and let you know that we are here to help. The purpose of the workshop today and the reason that we have so many of our staff here today is because the North Bay fires were unprecedented in their scope and in their devastation. We are currently at over $9 billion in claimed insured losses associated with these fires. The complex of fires associated with the North Bay fires are the most devastating in the history of the state of California. 44 lives tragically lost, untold devastation and destruction. The purpose of the workshop today is to give you an opportunity to meet one-on-one with representatives from the Department of Insurance to answer your questions. There's no question that's too small. There's no question that you shouldn't feel comfortable asking. We've set up appointments for folks, for over 200 people and counting, one-on-one appointments, which we'll go to quickly after my remarks and after Tony makes some remarks. We're also going to be taking in walk-ins, so if you didn't have the opportunity to schedule an appointment, please visit us at the table in the lobby. We can schedule you for a walk-in appointment as well. We understand people are going to be coming in and out during the course of these proceedings in order to get to their appointments. So since the fires hit these communities, I want to just share with you a little bit about what I've been doing as your insurance commissioner. The first step I took was to issue a declaration of emergency situation under the insurance code. That's necessary in order to allow insurance companies to bring in more personnel. I wanted to make sure they had enough boots on the ground to begin processing claims. As soon as I was able and we were allowed to, I went into the communities that were hit by the fires, met with fire victims and fire survivors, and heard firsthand their and your harrowing tales of escape and loss. I met with people in the triage centers, the evacuation centers. I deployed our consumer services personnel to the local assistance centers. We also made sure we had sufficient resources at our hotline to take calls as well. So far, we've talked to over 2,000 residents of these communities to help them with questions they have or help resolve disputes they have with insurance companies. And we would encourage you again to contact us to take advantage of our resources if you have any questions or any disputes. I also asked the insurance companies to expedite claims handling, to begin cutting checks immediately for out-of-pocket expenses that people might have associated with having to live away from their home. This includes lodging, transportation, food, clothing, what's referred to as additional living expense coverage, which is coverage that most, if not all, homeowners' policies have. I asked them to write 4 months advance checks as opposed to writing those checks on a weekly basis. I asked as well that for those of you that had suffered total losses of your home, that they begin to write advance checks in the amount of 25% of your personal contents coverage so that you could get checks immediately to help you begin to buy things you needed to sustain your life and that of your family, and that they not wait until you'd prepared a full inventory of the personal contents of your home. And so most of the insurers agreed to these expedited claims handling procedures to begin to cut red tape. We also learned from prior fires that oftentimes at moments of great tragedy and devastation like this, when people are emotionally distraught and grieving, as I know this community and you are, that scam artists come into the area to try to take advantage of you. And so we deployed our law enforcement officers in conjunction with law enforcement officers from the Contractors State License Board and others into affected neighborhoods to educate homeowners and others about the sorts of things to look out for with regard to scams. We have some of those officers with us today. I'm going to ask if they could stand a moment. So if you have any sense, and please give them a round of applause. If you believe you or a friend or family member or neighbor or anybody else is being taken advantage of by someone, please let us know. We're very, very, very interested in investigating each and every one of those allegations, because the worst thing that would happen would be at a moment when you're at your lowest, when you've already suffered so enormously, that you be taken advantage of again. One thing in particular, and we've got folks from the Contractors State License Board here, is we just want to reiterate that make sure that whatever contractors you're using, that they have a license in good standing. You could do so easily by checking the website of the Contractors State License Board, and you'll have a chance to hear from them in a little bit. We also discovered a couple of weeks ago that some number of you had been given bad information by your insurance company. There were around 10 or so such complaints, but as your insurance commissioner, if one of you is given bad information, that's one too many. And so some of the complaints we received was that insurance companies were telling people they only had 12 months in which to access their insurance proceeds to rebuild. Well, that's not accurate. Under California law, after a disaster like this one, where an emergency has been declared, you have 24 months. Other people were being told that they could only rebuild on their current lot. Well, that's not true either. Under California law, you have the ability to take your insurance settlement and rebuild on your current lot, or build on a new lot, or go buy another house if you want to. And so I immediately issued a notice to the insurance companies, agents and brokers and adjusters that they need to train their people immediately on California law. What we suspect happened is, as they move people in from out of state, some of these people are not familiar with California law and didn't know the law and gave people bad information. But regardless of the reason, I directed the insurance companies to stop immediately, to correct any misinformation, and to take immediate steps to make sure correct information is being provided. And if they don't, we'll bring enforcement actions against them. So those are some of the things that we have done to respond and to be of assistance. Our commitment is to continue to be here to help this community as long as it takes, to make sure that the promises made to you by insurance companies are delivered on, and to make sure that they comply with California's consumer protection laws and claims handling laws. Now, of course, our thoughts and prayers are with those in Southern California right now who are enduring a set of 6 fires that have broken out between San Diego and Ventura County. There, sadly, the homes lost are already exceeding 500 in number. And so I know we're thinking and praying about the firefighters there, some of whom fought the fires here and now are deployed in Southern California. Sadly, this appears to be the new normal for California. We don't have a fire season any longer. It's year-round, and tragically so. So those are some of the steps that we've taken. Again, the workshop today is designed to try to provide one-on-one assistance. If you have complaints about your insurance company or any dispute, please let us know as well. We'd be pleased to open a formal case and commence an investigation. I do want to share with you, too, our hotline number is 1-800 1-800-927-4357, 1-800-927-4357. We have the ability to have a variety of different languages translated. So if you call, if English is not your first language, or someone calls us and English is not their first language, know that we can get translators to help as well. And our online site is insurance.ca.gov, and you can use that facility as well. So again, it's a privilege for us to be here, to be of assistance to you. I hope you'll take advantage of the opportunity to meet with our people and take advantage of the other information that's provided as well. I know that FEMA is here as well as the SBA, and they're going to have a chance to be introduced a little bit later as well. I'm going to have to leave shortly before 11 o'clock to go meet with some of your local elected officials to brief them on the work that we've been doing, but also to hear from them the concerns that they're having. But then I'll come back after that, and I'll be available to talk to folks and be moving around and making sure that our folks are available to answer your questions. Finally, I'd just like to ask if we could just take a moment of silence for the 44 lives that were lost in the North Bay fires. Thank you very much. With that, I'm going to reintroduce Tony Signorelli, the Deputy Commissioner for Consumer Services and Market Conduct. Thank you.
Thank you, Commissioner. Before I go into a few issues, I'd like to introduce a few of the government agencies that are here. I'd like to come up and say a few words and let you know about some deadlines that are coming up and what they can do to help you. First, FEMA.
Good morning, everyone. First of all, I want to start with the array of services that we have here on premises. Our mitigation teams are here. We're at that phase also, the debris and mitigation. That's the cleanup. That's the best practices that we need for making our situation better for the long run. We have mitigation tables out there. We have our disaster survival assistance team members out there. So if anyone who has any questions about their registration or any issues or any needs that they may have, we're here to address those. Now, on Monday, the registration deadline, that's it, Monday, December 11th. So we ask anyone, or if anyone that you know who have not registered with FEMA yet, they have until Monday to do so. So please spread the word about that. We currently have our Disaster Recovery Center right down the street at the Press Democrat building. And even though the deadline is December 11th, they will still be there. So you always have someone to go to tend to any needs that you may have. Now, with that, the mitigation program is extremely important. A lot of folks don't know how to deal with contractors, don't know how to deal with the rebuilding efforts. And to me, that is one of the essential parts right now of our recovery. So if you have any issues whatsoever, they're out there in the hallway, and we have a disaster recovery team right down the, recovery center rather, right down the street. And we also have one at the Hannah Boyce Center in Sonoma, in the city of Sonoma. So please, if you need anything, just let us know. Any questions or anything? Outstanding issues, no? Yes? Do you have a timeline for completion? For completion? Yeah, I mean, given the progress that FEMA's made so far, do we know kind of how long it will be before the cleanup is complete? Well, my message... Assuming it doesn't ever rain. Well, my message is that this is a long view recovery operation. So as far as having a deadline for completion, that's a little farther into 2018. So I can't really speak to that. I don't have a crystal ball or anything. But we're working as hard as we can to make sure we are addressing all of your issues and needs. And our people are working extremely hard with local and state officials to adhere to those needs. Yes?
So there appears
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's a Corps of Engineer problem or issue, and I'm glad you're taking the appropriate steps to get those questions answered. But if you need another number, we have that to be able to give to you as well. But our folks are out there in the lobby, so you can address that issue to them as well. All right?
Thank you. And SBA, thank you.
Good morning. My name is George Camp. I'm with the SBA Disaster Assistance Office. And our hope for you is that through all the your efforts with your insurance companies and the federal grant programs that you can be 100% covered. Realistically, in some cases that doesn't happen, and people come to us, they are in this particular disaster to cover the uninsured or otherwise uncompensated for damages. To date, we have approved over $85 million in loans for people that have used our program for that. It's a low-interest, long-term disaster loan program that SBA has. They have a separate division that I work for, and that's all we do is deliver that program. So you just need to know that your neighbors, your fellow residents of the area have been using us that way, and it's a great way to use our program. The filing deadline, you've already heard, is Monday, December 11th. If you have registered with FEMA, that doesn't register or file the filing requirement for SBA. So you need to file if you just think you'll have a need for that program, just file by the deadline. So if you have any questions, I can tell you how to file. There are different ways to file. You can go online. There are 800 numbers. You can go to the center that's still going to be open through and after the 11th. But if you haven't filed, you need to get down there by the 11th and get your application filed so you can preserve your options. And I think that's the name of the game right now. Is there are a lot of options for you out there, and we don't want you to not have our option if you don't need it. For goodness sakes, we have good tools to work with, 30-year maturity, and the homes can be made as interest rate as little as 1.75%. So I'll answer all your questions at the table. I'll have a table out here. I've got flyers with all of that contact information that you might need.
We're going to be able to do a lot of Q&A at the conclusion of these presentations. And finally, Contractors State License Board.
Good morning. Thank you, Commissioner Jones, for having us here. My name is Eric Steffens, and I'm an investigator with the Contractors State Licensing Board in the enforcement branch of the board here locally. Not to go into too much of what we're doing, but part of, the primary focus of my unit specifically is to look for unlicensed activity. Commissioner Jones alluded to it. There's a lot of scam artists that come in and try to defraud consumers that have already been victimized by the fire. So part of what I do in the unit that I work in, the statewide investigative fraud team, we go out, we join forces with other law enforcement agencies, and we go out and conduct random compliance checks throughout the devastation in the fire area, making sure that there's nobody sneaking in and committing any kind of fraud or any kind of unlicensed construction activity. Our agency, as well as it also staffs, folks over here at the local assistance center as well as in the Hannah's Boys Center. So there's additional information that you can get there, and I'll have a table here to provide some additional information. The primary focus is to want to make sure that as you begin the rebuilding process, that you're using properly licensed contractors to do that. And I can give you some more information out at the table in relation to that. But specifically what we do is we go out and actually go out into the field with other law enforcement agencies looking for the people that are trying to, commit these scams against the people who have been devastated by the fire. So, any questions? Yeah. I can't speak to the rebuilding costs. I can only speak to the enforcement component of related to the Contractors Board. But if you come to my table, we can talk to you a little bit more about that. Thank you.
Great, thank you. And again, we're going to have time to answer all your questions, either at the tables that are out there for the other agencies, and then I'll be here later also. I just wanted to talk a few minutes. Most of you are going to see one of our compliance officers today. You have an appointment or on a walk-in basis. You're going to spend a few minutes with them, 20 minutes, whatever it takes. And you're not going to get all your questions answered. We're not going to be able to dig too deep and investigate, any really complex issues. But we're going to point you in the right direction. We're going to clarify some issues with you. But in the end, you still have our hotline that you can call and ask a question. You can go to our online and ask a question without filing a complaint. You can just call and say, I have a question. You can go online, just ask us a question, and we'll respond to you. However, if you do run into an impasse with your insurance company, either you believe that your claim is not being paid timely, it's not being paid to the right amount, they're denying a portion of your claim, and you've worked with your insurance company and you're at an impasse, please contact us. We have these compliance officers here, as well as more that we have on staff statewide that can take your case in, investigate it, get all the documents that you want to send us, all the documents from the insurance company, their claim file, their underwriting file, and really take a look at what happened and what should be the insurance company's obligation on your claim. With regard to people that, we've heard from people in meeting with them that they may not have enough coverage to cover the rebuilding costs. Now, we encourage you to come to us if you really believe that's the case. We encourage you to go through the process with your insurance company, get their scope of loss, get their estimates, get their information, do your research, get your information from a contractor, and make sure that their scope of loss is accurate. If you believe that your coverage is insufficient at the end of the day, contact us. We'll take a look at your underwriting file, which is all your documents from your application when you first signed up for the insurance, all the way through each renewal process. We'll also look at whether there was any representations made to you, either by your insurance company or your agent or broker, that you had sufficient coverage for a complete destruction of the home. And so we'll be looking at all those issues. But I do encourage you to contact us because we have a lot of success in helping people. We recover millions of dollars a year on an individual case-by-case basis for people. We can't help everybody. It depends on your particular case and your particular facts and what laws exist that apply to your case. But We certainly can't help you unless you do contact us. One second, we'll get to some Q&A in a minute, okay? One last point. In addition to our intervention process, which is where a compliance officer will get assigned a case and investigate the case and try to work it out with the insurance company, at the end of that process, if it doesn't resolve your particular dispute, there is a statutory mediation process, and that's free to you. The insurance company pays the cost, and they're mandated to enter into that program. Once we've looked at the case and there's still an impasse, we can push this case to mediation. An independent mediator will look at the case, get information from your side, get information from the insurance company's side, and make a recommendation as to what the settlement could or should be. It's non-binding, so either you or the insurance company, if you're not happy with the recommendation by the mediator, you're not obligated to take that. But it has resulted in millions of dollars in settlements over the years after earthquakes and or wildfires that were declared disasters, and it is triggered now because of these particular fires. And lastly, just please contact us with any questions you have, either today here or subsequently. We're always going to be available on our hotline and on our website. And that concludes the formal presentation. And now I'd like to offer up questions that people may have.